What's up, guys? It's me, the ALE Double X Prince, and I'm here to give you my review of NXT TakeOver Orlando. I almost fucked up and said San Antonio. That was last time I talked about NXT. This time I'm gonna be talking about Orlando. Tomorrow's WrestleMania, and NXT tends to, give you a special right before the show. I mean, last year they killed it with Dallas. We had Nakamura and Zayn being one of the best matches of that year. Asuka and Bailey was good. American Alpha and Revival, Finn Balor, and Samoa Joe, good main event, and of course the debuting of Austin Aries taking on Baron Corbin. That was a good stacked card. This card looked really fucking stacked. The three main events looked good. Some delivered, some were mediocre at most. But overall, I even thought like the matches I wasn't looking forward to were actually pretty good. I like majority of this card. I thought it was pretty legit for the most part. I mean, not really a bad match here. We kick off with Sanity taking on Ty Dillinger. I forgot the name of the chick. I forgot the name of the girl. Roderick Strong and No Way Jose got injured earlier in the night on a house show, I guess, and No Way Jose got replaced by Cassius Ohno. I think that was a great replacement. It was a really fun ass match. I really enjoyed it for the most part. It was a really good, fast pace, and Sanity eventually gets to win. I actually thought the perfect 10 Ty Dillinger was gonna get the victory, and that would have been pretty cool and interesting. But I'm happy with what we got. Next match on the card, we got Aleister Black beating Andrade Cien Almas. I like Andrade Cien Almas. I don't give a crap what anybody thinks. This guy is awesome in the ring, and he proved it again with Aleister Black, formerly known as Tommy N. I think Tommy N, I always thought he was a mediocre talent at most. Not mediocre like he sucked sometimes, but I didn't know much about him. I mean, he has impressed me with a match he had with Chris Hero and the Indies. I forgot which show was it, but they showed me one, and he could move in the ring, and so did Cien Almas. These guys carried it. I wish the match was a little bit longer. Just give it some time, and it was a pretty good match for the most part. Really hard hitting for what I gotta say. But then we get the match of the night: Authors of Pain beating DIY and the Revival. And I actually thought DIY was gonna win, but it didn't happen. I actually thought the Authors of Pain had potential of losing because they played it off. It was really brilliant, but DIY and the Revival have been feeding the whole year. Last year, and this time they keep on to take on the Authors of Pain. They actually even share finishers. I remember Scott Dawson and Johnny Gargano hit I forgot the name of the move that DIY usually uses, and then Tommaso Ciampa and Dash Wilder use the Revival finisher usually, and eventually it was no use because eventually these two guys start fighting back again. Oh, there was actually a really cool table spot. They had a DIY set up a table for Razor from Authors of Pain. That's when they started teaming up. Like, both of them were about to like throw him in the table, but he was too heavy, and then the Revival helped out, and that was fucking cool. Really good back and forth. This is one of the best matches of the year for sure. I wouldn't say 5 stars, and I'll give it like 4 3/4 just because like I wish the DIY was stuck around instead of the Revival, because you knew the Revival wasn't gonna beat the Authors of Pain. So DIY and Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano was more believable because after all, Revival is gonna move up to the main roster. So that's the only nitpick I would give it. Aside from that, it was pretty good. Cause then like this could have been the perfect way of splitting up DIY, cause it's been rumored, so it's better off if they did that. But just that. I mean, that's the only nitpick I'll give it. Everything else is pretty solid, and one of my favorite parts of the match, honestly, was like again like when they share finishers, and the table spot was just brilliant. Everything about this was great. The chemistry, I mean, NXT is definitely like the legit year for tag teams. But speaking of tag teams, they switch all the championship belts. They all look different. William Regal announced it earlier today, this morning, that new championships are going to be revealed. All of them are really interesting. Like the women's and the world one, they kind of look the same. Maybe like the women's one was like more silver, and the NXT main one was fully gold, and then the NXT Tag Team Championship, they look the same, but they like darkened it, and it looked really cool. The tag team ones were my favorite designs out of all of them. It was a really good match again, and the Authors of Pain stand tall. And I don't know who they're gonna take on now, because if DIY split, who's next? Revival's probably gonna get pulled up to the main roster. And I don't know, if I had to choose who they would take on, I would say Sanity, but they're both heels, so it probably won't work. If TM61 returns, that would be great. But yeah, the Revival stood out strong. Great way to end their NXT career. But yeah, a good match of the night for me. Probably my third favorite match of the year, right behind Cena and AJ from the Royal Rumble, and of course Okada and Omega from Wrestle Kingdom 11. Next up, again, Asuka beating Ember Moon. I am fucking shocked to say that. We all thought Ember Moon was gonna beat Asuka, and then Asuka would move up to a main roster. But I like the unpredictability, and this is the perfect way to turn Asuka heel. She had to cheat to beat Ember Moon, so it shows that the match we could have another match going on. But I don't want a regular ass match. I think that's the problem with Asuka. She only has regular one-on-one matches, and another problem that I give Asuka is that her matches are too fucking short. They're like really disrespecting the women's division. If anything, like the only way the rematch could be legit is if you do two things. First of all, make it a stipulation, and I have a perfect one. TLC. Ember Moon is popular for her TLC match back in the Indies against, I forgot the name of the chick she fought, but it was a good ass match. If we make it a TLC, that would be really good. And the second thing that will help the match would be give it more time. So actually, there's three things. The third thing would be make it the main event. I think if Ember Moon, Asuka in the main event TLC, it will be a really, really good match, and that would be the perfect way to have Ember Moon win the belt and Asuka going to the main roster. I think that's the only way this could ever work. Aside from that, I think this is going to be a really good show. This was a pretty enjoyable match. It wasn't great. It was too short. You know, I'm tired of Asuka matches being too short. I mean, if anything, I prefer the Mickie James match over this one, personally. And it's kind of sad because a lot of people didn't even like that match. I still enjoy this one, don't get me wrong. It was just too short for me. And then next match, Bobby Roode beats Shinsuke Nakamura. The reason why I say it like if I was shocked, because the way this match played out, they made it look like Bobby Roode is gonna cheat to win, and then Shinsuke Nakamura almost beat him, but he didn't. It was just really good reversal, really good psychology, proving that Bobby Roode is good. See, guys, when you give a match a story, it could be really good. I like their one at San Antonio, but this one was so much fucking better just because the story was there, the feel was there, the glorious moments were there. Everything about this was really outstanding. Definitely no 5-star, because something I noticed about Bobby Roode matches, they get better until the end. They start slow and then they pick up at the end. I noticed that about Bobby Roode matches. Ever since I recognized him in a TNA, like even his matches with Austin Aries, Kurt Angle, and even James Storm. So yeah. Now this is a good show. However, it's starting to feel a lot like the same ones. Like my biggest problem with NXT is that the main event is always the same fucking one. Basically, not saying like obviously the NXT Championship has to change. And like let's go back to 2014. There only was 4 takeover specials, and the first one was NXT Arrival. The main event was Adrian Neville versus Bo Dallas. The main event for the first NXT TakeOver was Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd, a different ass match. The NXT TakeOver Fatal 4 was, of course, the epic Fatal 4 between Neville, Kidd, Zayn, and Breeze. And NXT R Revolution was Neville and Sami Zayn. Now, even though Neville main evented all of them, each match was different. Now let's look at 2015. Yeah, let's look at no, not 2015, 2016, because 2015 was meh as far as main events, because they're all kind of different. But anyways, the main events for last year were Finn and Joe, and then Takeover at the end was Finn and Joe again in a steel cage, and then it was Nakamura and Joe, and then Nakamura and Joe again. So they all felt the fucking same. And they kind of did the same thing here with Bobby Roode and Nakamura main eventing 2 takeovers. That's the main problem. Fine. Obviously, what I would do is change it up a little bit. Like I remember when we had Kevin Owens. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze. All right, and we're back. I wasn't feeling so good, but like I was saying, 2015. I remember NXT Takeover Brooklyn. We had Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. That was the third time we see it ever. But what made that special was because it was a ladder match, so it changed up a little bit of the feel. And then hell, in NXT Takeover Respect, they switched up the main event. Instead of an NXT Championship match, it was an NXT Women's Championship match, Bailey versus Sasha Banks, a match we have seen before, but they gave it a stipulation, Iron Women. Now, I'm not saying every main event has to have a stipulation, just change it up a bit here and there, just because, no, like, I actually want to see the tag team division being the main event. Actually, I wouldn't be shocked if they do that next. Like, next time they have a DIY versus Out There's a Pain in a 2 out of 3 falls, and then I will have, like, their DIY split in the main event. Like, I would just change the main event just so NXT feels fresh and different each time, because that's the big problem with this show. I still love the show. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. An A minus, pretty solid as a show. I really enjoyed the show, especially like again the tag team match and the NXT match was good. Everything else was give or take. Um, I like the new belt design. I felt like some of them felt the same, like they kind of looked the same, but thankfully they did not pull a WWE Universal Championship take, like basically have the exact same belt, just different color. Like, thank goodness they did not do that. And I heard that they're changing the Universal Championship for Lesnar and Goldberg. They fucking better be honest with that. And I do not want to see Reigns and Taker in the main event. I'll take Goldberg and Lesnar as the main event. If not, I'll take freaking Bray and Orton in the main event. That looks fucking good. So yeah, I think that will be it for the show. Again, watch the show. Mainly those 2 matches I mentioned. Again, it's me, the ALE Double X Prince. I'll see you tomorrow for WrestleMania. So subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And until then, I'm out.